Hi everyone, this is Olivia Becker, Laura Miller, and myself, Laura Schoenike, and today we'll be presenting a Microsoft 365 for Education, as well as Microsoft Partners in Learning. So first, we'll give you a brief overview of the topics we'll be covering. For Office 365, we'll first be talking about what it is, how it works, and how it can be used, as well as should business and marketing education teachers include this in the curriculum, and the advantages and disadvantages. After you understand the basics of all of that, we'll move on to describing Microsoft Office Partners in Learning. And now I'll pass it over to Laura Miller, who will first begin explaining the basics of Office 365.
So first of all, what is Office 365? It's the newest and most updated version of Microsoft Office, coming off of Microsoft Office 10, I believe is the most updated before that. 365 is different than any program before because it combines the traditional desktop publishing along with cloud-based remote computing option as well, where you can access your program from any computer. It still includes the traditional Office suite software, which is Microsoft Outlook, Word, Excel, Access, Links, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Publisher. So that being said, what exactly is 365 on the educational side of it? There is a bunch of free programming very similar to the Google Suite that I think most people are very familiar with, that Office and Microsoft offer as well. So in those free plans, it includes business class email, so free email, web conferencing, where you can conduct meetings over the internet with HD video conferencing, screen sharing, and instant messaging, very similar to Google Hangouts. Then there's simple file sharing. So like Google has a Google Drive that everyone gets for themselves. Microsoft's version of that is OneDrive, not for business, for education, where each user gets 25 gigabytes of personal storage that they can access from anywhere. You can also share some of these documents with other people, and you can work together on the same document from your file. You also get an intranet site for your teams. So this is kind of set up like a wiki as well, but you can create these SharePoint sites where you can customize security setting and customize who is invited. So you can have a full classroom of students invited to one intranet site, or you can just have a group of people, however you choose to do it. You also get free spam and malware protection, premium protection and anti-spam filtering. There's also IT level web support and 24-hour, 7 days a week phone service for any issues that you have. And then with the free plan, you can also access, create, and edit documents in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote through your online drive. So this is a limited version of Microsoft Office, but it is free for users to use. So next we're going to go into some of the paid plans. And I'm actually going to take you to the website to kind of show you exactly what you can get. So this is the Office Education Plans and Pricing website. So if you'll notice the Office A2 on the left-hand column, this is the free one that I was talking to you about. A4 over here we're not really going to mention since that's a little bit more advanced than what most of us would be using in our classroom. But A3 is the one I do want to compare with. And Microsoft just started a new program in December of 2013 actually, where if you sign a contract district-wide or school-wide, depending on how you work your contract with Microsoft, you will get free access for all of your students for Microsoft Office 365 as well as for your classroom. So I'll kind of talk about that a little bit when we go back to the PowerPoint presentation, but I did kind of just want to walk you through the website. So you'll notice when we're going down with both the free and the paid version. You get the email, the web conferencing, the simple file sharing for the OneDrive, the internet sites for your teams to use, Active Drive integration, that's just managing user credentials and permissions, spam and malware protection, again, the IT support, and then Office Online. You will also, if you sign up for the paid program, you will be able to get everything via mobile, and that's not only just on iPad and iPhones, but Androids as well. And that mobile app is just the ones from just the Suite version. You'll also guaranteed 99% of the time, because it's cloud-based and because it's online, someone's constantly updating it and attending to it. You'll have the full Office suite, and this will be available for your students as well, desktop versions. And then a few more things. You'll get advanced email, just bigger storage, e-discovery center, and you'll have automated voicemail as well. So just to wrap up what's in those paid plans, when you go institution-wide, not only will you get all of your desktops in the school will have the full Microsoft Office suite, but students will have remote access to them, and then and mobile access, and they will all be able to have the full suite on their desktop computers at home. And then lastly, because it's online based, you get free upgrades every 90 days, so you don't have to worry about that annoying little ticker in the bottom right hand of your screen telling you to constantly update your Microsoft. So next, there are a million different ways to use this in the classroom. I'm just going to point out a few to kind of relate it to us. But using SharePoint in your classroom, what you can do is have your students turn in their homework online. They can do it at home through their drive. You don't have to worry about lost paper, lost assignments, or anything. They will have to do it online. So that's really a nice tool for you. And you can also go in and edit your feedback to them online. SharePoint is also a really great way to flip your classroom. Not only can you record yourself and then have them watch it at home, but you can also make resource videos. So if they wanted to re-listen to the lesson that you taught that day, you can put it on your SharePoint drive, and they can go home and rewatch the resource videos if they need help with their homework. And then Outlook, if everyone's in Outlook, not only can they book meetings with you and request some time with you, and you can both have the reminders as well, but you can set task reminders for their Outlook to let them and remind them know when they have homework assignments done. And then as far as the whole suite is concerned, you can collaborate and share documents. People can work on projects when they're not physically together. You can do a lot more integrated classroom stuff. And then a big one too, I know Google is used for creating forms and surveys. So that's another thing that you can use in the classroom through Microsoft Office.
As Laura mentioned earlier, I will be discussing how Office 365 could be used in K-12 education, if it should be used in K-12 education, and the advantages and disadvantages of Office 365. We'll start with how it could be used in K-12 education. Mainly, it would be with collaborative projects, either within the class, with other classes, such as Common Core, or projects outside the classroom. It's a great way to incorporate social media, wikis and blogs, and bulletin boards. You can also build on projects or documents created by students from previous years because everything is stored on the cloud. I think another great way this could be used is for distance education programs because everything is done online and the teacher can give students feedback even though they might not be in the physical classroom. Now the question is, should BME teachers include this in their curriculum? Overall, I would say yes, but there are some things to keep in mind. You have to make sure that you're using the program and its tools appropriately so that it is engaging and that they are still learning the necessary content that they should be, instead of just using the tool as a fun new activity. Another great thing about this software is that a lot of it has a Facebook and Twitter feel, two things that the majority of your students will use daily, if not hourly. This will get them to be more willing and feel more comfortable with using the software. They can use their knowledge and skills that they already possess from their personal use of similar technology and bring it to the classroom for a better and more exciting schooling experience. But it does depend on what your district uses. So if your district or even just your school isn't using Office 365, it might be hard to incorporate it into your curriculum. As you can see on the screen, here are the advantages and disadvantages of Office 365. Some of the advantages include that it's monitored by teachers, so students won't be getting into any mischief. It builds on technical skills needed once they graduate that college and employers are looking for. It promotes collaboration, which is important for any future career. And updates are all done by Microsoft, so teachers won't have to worry about having the latest version. Some of the disadvantages is that it is voluntary, which means unless the teacher makes the students create an account, they will not have one. There's also resistance from teachers who don't like the idea of technology taking over the classroom. There are some problems with it loading on Firefox, and then the data control can sometimes be an issue because it is all in the cloud and not specifically in a document controlled by you. And then there's always the renewals of the Office 365, which you would have to pay money for.
Now that you've learned a little bit about the basics of Microsoft 365 for education, we'll take that a little bit further in depth to go over some of the values of Microsoft Partners in Learning. First, we'll discuss what it is and what's available, and then we'll actually go to their website so we can get a little bit better understanding of exactly what's offered and how you would use the website. So first of all, what is Microsoft Partners in Learning? Essentially, it's an organization that has a goal of bringing together the world's most innovative educators and celebrating their impact on student learning. Obviously, there's a really strong emphasis on technology, particularly technology that involves Microsoft products. In a little bit broader sense, Microsoft Partners in Learning is a community of educators that are coordinated and brought together through Microsoft. Essentially, it is a group that's hosted, again, by the actual company Microsoft, but it's really driven by the educators. This will make more sense when we're exploring the website because you'll see how different tutorials, lesson plans, and ideas are submitted by educators worldwide, but again, just organized and generally kept in the same place by Microsoft. So in a very brief sense, what is available through Microsoft Partners in Learning? There's different resources, tutorials, and networking opportunities. Again, we'll go into more depth in this when we're actually on the website. So let's go ahead and take a look. So here we are on the Microsoft Partners in Learning website. You can see right up here that the URL is www.pil-network.com. Naturally, the PIL stands for Partners in Learning. You will also notice that this website is not necessarily hosted on the same website as Microsoft's business site, which is kind of a nice separation to really make that distinct difference that it is not entirely linked to their product offerings, but still hosted by the company. So right here as we're on the home page, you can see right at the top we have a menu here that offers their different offerings. We'll go through each of those in a little bit, but down here at the bottom, you can see right away with their mission, it fits in very well. Their three top used links here are tutorials, popular discussions, and then they also offer ways for educators to stay connected through Twitter and Facebook, as well as a couple other social media platforms. So let's take a look at specific resources that are offered. So under resources, you can see here that they have three different choices: free tools, tutorials, and then learning activities. Tutorials and learning activities are both libraries that are hosted on the Microsoft Partners in Learning website. You can also see here that you have the option to add a tutorial or a learning activity. So these are kind of crowdsourced resources that are put together by teachers for other teachers. They offer a great resource for kind of perusing different options, as well as things that you could use to present to students. Learning activities essentially are a lot of different lesson plan ideas. Some of them aren't full lesson plans, but just kind of bits and pieces of learning activities and different options that you could use in your classroom. So we'll go ahead and click on free tools first. So here under free tools, you'll see just this nice list of different tools for educators. Again, these are primarily ones that are sponsored by Microsoft. There are a couple other on here as well, but you can see most are Microsoft initiated, like Bing here. BrainPop is also part of Microsoft, and different options. So you can also see kind of how other educators have rated these based on likes, which is similar to a Facebook like, essentially a positive reinforcement of that particular resource, as well as if there are any tutorials available on it. And again, there's where that library that we talked about just a little bit ago comes into play, as well as different learning activities. So kind of the overall value of these particular tools are that it's really well integrated within the Microsoft Partners in Learning website. So not only do they offer a variety of tools and resources as well as those tutorials, they also make sure that those that go together fit together. So you can really see, okay, if I want to use auto collage in a particular lesson, first of all, 224 educators already like this. So I know that it's probably pretty well backed. There are 111 tutorials available on it, so I have a pretty good chance of really being able to understand exactly what it is that I'll be doing. And then there's 2,731 learning activities. So out of those, if I can't come up with my own lesson plan or don't have any ideas for particular learning activities, I'll have a pretty good option of finding something as a resource on this website. Outside of resources, we'll also check out community. Hot Topics is essentially a discussion board, which we'll touch on in the community section here as well. Under community, you can see the three options are discussions, find a member, and find an organization. As I mentioned, discussions goes back to Hot Topics, which is just general information and ideas that Microsoft Partners in Learning puts out there that they think could be helpful or useful for different educators. Find a member and find an organization is a tool that I think is really beneficial because it allows you to, first of all, get connected to other educators, which is kind of the whole value of Microsoft Partners in Learning. Both of those options you're able to search by individual's name, school. So if you know a school that does really well with technology, that'd be a great way to find a little bit extra help. Our next tab is professional development. And again, you can see the categories on here. We have earn badges, virtual university webinars, teaching with technology, Windows in the classroom, 21st century learning design, and then Global Forum 2014. So we'll start by looking at earn badges. Now, earning badges is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a way for teachers to differentiate themselves. And on here, as they explain kind of their mission and vision of the badges, this shows how that teachers, in order to learn, don't necessarily need to go back to a particular class, but rather that learning can happen anytime, anywhere, as they say right here in the first sentence. And Microsoft Partners in Learning badges offer a way for that kind of spur of the moment or impromptu learning to be recognized, because you can learn a lot through different conferences and options like that. So you can kind of see some different badge options that are available down here. And again, these are further distinctions. Some of these do have costs associated with them, so in order to be a Microsoft innovative school, there might be certain registration fees. So again, that would definitely be something to check into before you get too involved in it. But there are some available for the schools as well as for specific teachers. So one that we'll look at specifically is the teaching with technology one. So like I just mentioned, this is one of the badges that is available through professional development. And it essentially is a program that really encourages teachers to integrate technology into their practices rather than just kind of throwing it on top or melding it over an already existing lesson. This is something that I think is incredibly important for teachers to understand, and I think it's something that is so often not done well in a lot of schools today. And I think it's really cool that Microsoft offers this resource right on the website. Accessing these resources has no cost to it, which is really nice. And you can just use all the resources that are here. Even if you don't want to do the badge, which would depend on the particular educator or and what their school offers as professional development options, you can use a lot of these resources just to really further define your understanding of working technology into teaching. Something else that I thought was particularly interesting that isn't totally linked to the program, but rather the terminology, is that they refer to what we often call IT, or information technology, as ICT, or information communication technology. And that's just an interesting differentiation that really kind of says the direction that Microsoft is taking with different technology applications, really looking at it as a communication tool, which I think is really important in both how we teach and then how students learn the material. The last two links we'll look at here are both the For Educators and For Schools section. Now these both just go a little bit more into depth and kind of break down the earlier opportunities we had talked about. So under For Educators, it just goes again through these three options. The new one that we haven't talked about at all yet is become a Microsoft Expert Educator. Again, this is another sort of professional development or differentiation opportunity. There is a cost associated with that, as well as a number of criteria and clarification and different clarifications and things that you would have to do in order to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding. The last tab we have over here then is this For Schools. And when you click on that, you can see a wide variety of options that are available for different schools interested in Microsoft Partners for Learning. Again, you can take the time to check those out on your own. When you're actually teaching in a classroom, this would be a really unique opportunity that if you were looking for something to maybe distinguish your school, or you believe you had a really strong technology integration program, this would be a nice way to kind of maybe demonstrate that just a little bit further, and that would be a great time to check out what these options all have to offer. At first, they might seem a little bit overwhelming, but when you actually go in and look, it's a lot of things that schools are already doing. It's just a matter of figuring out where you fit in. So then, understanding all of that, let's take a couple of minutes to think about how could business and marketing education teachers use Microsoft Partners in Learning. Well, as we went through, obviously there are a number of teaching resources, particularly in the tutorials and then different lesson ideas. This would be a great option for anyone to just kind of peruse through and figure out some options. I know I plan to kind of look through and then bookmark the ones that I find really valuable and just kind of save them in a good storage area to be able to know that you can always go back to. Perhaps the one that I think is the most valuable resource, though, is the connections to other educators. A lot of times, education, particularly those who are advocating for effective use of technology in education, can seem like a very lonely world, because you might think that you're the only one in the world who thinks the way that you do. And it's kind of nice to be able to know there are other educators out there who are using technology and using technology well. And also that provides a really strong example. As a new teacher, you might not always have that leadership in your district, particularly if you're in a small district. So it's nice to have that connection to other educators. And then finally, as we just went over, there are a number of opportunities for honors and different distinctions, school or district-wide, as well as for individual educators, like we looked at with the different badges. And with that, thank you very much for listening to our podcast today. Olivia, Laura, and I all thank you for listening, and we're very grateful that we were able to help you understand a little bit more about Microsoft 365 for education, as well as Microsoft Partners in Learning. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to contact any of us at the emails that are listed there. The two websites that we visited today, the one from Microsoft Office 365 for education, as well as the Partners in Learning website, are both listed there, and we highly encourage you to take a couple minutes to explore those on your own and really find out what the programs do have to offer.